If you and your family live paycheck to paycheck, or a good chunk of your salary goes to pay for housing, you're not alone. According to this year's ALICE report by the United Way of Florida, 46% of all households in our state are struggling to make ends meet. ALICE is an acronym for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. In other words, people with jobs who don't earn enough to pay all their bills and sock some money away in savings. They are people and families who struggle to afford the basics like rent, transportation, childcare, and food. With little to no savings, they're just one emergency away from falling into poverty. Multimedia journalist Sally Himes spoke with the United Way of Palm Beach County to learn more about the impact this has on that community and how their programs are trying to help.
Underneath the neatly lined palm trees is a very real struggle in Palm Beach County.
It's disappointing to see that in our community, more and more families are struggling.
The latest research finds 34%, a little more than 1/3 of all Palm Beachers, are one paycheck away from financial crisis. The United Way calls this the ALICE population, people earning more than the poverty level, but less than what's needed to cover the basics.
If a teacher has an emergency come up, they start a downward spiral where they can't then afford to pay for their groceries. They might miss a rent payment, and they still need to show up for work every day and teach our children. I would have liked to have seen the numbers go down in our community because the population is so valuable and they're such an integral part of making our community successful. We're talking about people who are working 1, 2, 3 jobs to make ends meet, and the fact that housing costs are rising, transportation, food, and the wages are just not keeping pace, and that's disheartening, really.
To bridge the gap, the United Way funds over 100 programs. One of the largest is VITA, where IRS-trained volunteers file taxes at no cost for people who earn less than $66,000 a year.
There's a need. This is a new location for VITA, and people are still repeat. They find where you are, and they come back. I've seen a very diverse group. I found this organization through my college-age daughter who used the service, and then I became involved volunteering. Anywhere from college students, day laborers, cashiers, teachers, even there have been some people in the banking or financial backgrounds, and they're just needing a refresher on new tax law.
In 2017 alone, over 10,000 people in Palm Beach County benefited from the VITA program. With the cost of living continuing to rise across the board, so will the needs of the ALICE population.
And here to share more about the United Way's latest numbers on financial insecurity in South Florida is Kathleen Cannon, President and CEO of the United Way of Broward County. Kathleen, great to have you with us.
Pam, thanks for having me here today.
This is just so important, this report, to really paint a picture for all of us about what's going on in our community with families.
Right.
So let's talk specifically about Broward and South Florida and what's happening in our community here.
So surprising, right? Folks, like, unemployment's doing well, the economy is doing well,
yeah.
But there is this entire population of people who are financially strived and suffering, but they don't look like they are. So they're going to work every day, they've got 1, 2, some of them have 3 jobs, just trying to make their ends meet. But at work, they're finding it difficult to make their ends meet. So at the end of a paycheck or a pay period, they are making serious decisions. Do I put food on the table? Do I take the bus instead of putting gas in the car? Mm-hmm. What if there's something wrong with the car? They really are one paycheck away from financial crisis, and we don't want people to fall into poverty.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about what these families look like. I mean, we're talking about, and the ALICE report looks at, when it talks about households, a family of 4, 2 working people and 2 small children. So there's childcare that's required there.
Correct.
But these folks are usually people who both have jobs, they have degrees, many of them, or some sort of certification. They appear to be doing everything right, trying to follow the American dream, if you will, but they're struggling. Talk about what these families look like.
Yeah. Pam, one of the things that you said is so on point, because they are doing everything right, but yet they cannot get ahead. And they are families that we all come in contact with every day. They're the people that are serving coffee, our teachers especially, people that are public service workers, nurses, aides. They're the people that really run our economy in our community and serving us every day. but there is not, wages are not keeping up
Yeah.
with the cost of living in South Florida.
Yeah.
So people are spending well over 50% of their income on just housing. So then how do they afford childcare and transportation? And if something goes wrong within a pay period or in a month's time,
Sure.
it does spiral them. But
Yeah.
they're folks that we work with and serve and see all day, every day. They
Yeah,
are
and-
normal, regular folk.
I love how you said that. They're normal, regular folk, and they're just trying to put all those pieces
Yes.
together. I want to talk about the numbers briefly so people understand what we're talking about. So the median income for folks is $54,000. But when you put all those pieces together, according to the Alice report, to pay for transportation, childcare, rent, it's $64,000. So they're really, many of them, $10,000 and a deficit of $10,000. So what can we do as a community
Yeah.
to help folks?
Great question. Because people can't live in a deficit, right? You
No.
can't go from year to year or month to month in a deficit.
Because you can't even save.
No, there is zero savings. This
Yeah.
is like the bare minimum budget of just the bare minimum of what people need to be able to make, to be able to survive and live and, you know, be relatively happy in the
Yeah.
community. So we have surrounded our Alice report was really the framework for us to study families who are working hard but falling short. So we have put all types of programming into place to serve families.
Okay.
There is something we call VITA, which is volunteer income tax assistance. Let's get everybody their tax assistance. People are leaving money on the table because they're not claiming their dependents and their tax refunds. So we have huge amount of volunteers here in South Florida doing tax prep for folks. We also have all types of financial assistance programs. Sometimes a very small amount will keep somebody from spiraling into financial crisis. So we've got that set up. We have something called Project Lifeline, about food banks and serving food, healthcare. We do a healthcare and a childcare match, making sure that people don't have to spend extra dollars or dollars that they don't have on services that are just bare minimum and vital services to get people through. So we're always looking for volunteers. We're looking for donors to join us in this. If we could stabilize our middle class and all of our folks and families that are working hard and making sure that they have what they need to get by, the whole economy will do better.
Sure.
Like that's the message I want to share with folks. That
Yeah.
if everybody thrives, the economy as a whole does
Thrives,
better.
yes, exactly. And if they have more income to spend, that does help
Absolutely.
the economic engine of the community. So two of the biggest problems I'm hearing you say is housing affordability.
Yep.
Rent is just very high. Most of these Alice families are renters,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And and the wages just aren't keeping up. So how do we solve the wage problem's a hard one to solve right away, right?
It's all hard,
Hard.
right? It's all complex.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is do immediate help, but also in the long run as
Okay.
well. So public policy is a big piece. You know, we really have to work on affordable housing. What we have and what we're finding is folks are multiple families are living together now because they cannot afford the rent. People are being roommates for longer. Younger people are staying home with their parents for much longer than they had. Seniors are cohabitating just because of rent. So we're seeing people coming up with different ways of trying to be strategic and help. But we do have to work on the affordability of housing, and then we have to work on that people have just the basic needs that they need. So we do job skills, we're trying to get people higher wages, trying to help all families from young generation on about savings. We want people to earn, keep, and grow their assets. But if there's nothing left at the end of a month, what are they going to grow?
Right.
So we have savings account setups for folks. We have banking, new banking relationships that we're trying to get to families. So we're looking at generationally
Sure.
how to solve this, but not just a one-stop gap for some long-standing public policy shifts that we can get some more affordable housing. So folks have a little bit left over at the end of a month that they can start to save.
And that's such an important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And we know leaders in our community have talked about this housing affordability issue for a long time. Really needs to be solved in some way so that these families can start saving.
Absolutely.
Right?
We have to take care of everybody in
Everyone,
our
yeah.
community, and they take care of us.
Right.
So they really make our economy run and keep everything moving and shaking. So it's so important.
Thank you, Kathleen, for coming and shedding some light on that. We really appreciate it.
Pam, thanks so much for having us.
And we'll have much more information for you on the United Way's Alice Report, plus resources on our Facebook page at Your South FL.